Welcome to the Oh So Spurs podcast, your tonic to a difficult end to your week, thanks to Tottenham Hotspur. Is it just a small bump on a long road towards glory with Ange Postecoglou behind the wheel of the bus? To figure that all out, we have the ultimate panel, starting with Stu over in Dubai. How are you, Stu?
Lovely. Fantastic. Couldn't be better.
Good to have you. We have Deej over in sunny. I think he's back in Austin at the moment. Go on, how are you? No, he's in San Francisco.
Still in Cali, but I'm doing better, doing good. Could be better though. Tottenham has a great way of losing right before an international break, and it's so frustrating.
And how about you, Sai? Are you frustrated, happy, confused, or all of the above?
Hey.
Confused for different reasons.
Of that, totally confused about what happened over half time. At the weekend, we were sitting there on the live stream. We were having a ball at half time.
Oh.
And then Johnny turns up. And then we lose 3-2. I don't know what happened.
I know. We tried all the lucky charms, lucky shirts. Johnny even rode in a Lancashire Bomber cockpit for a while.
Even Sean the Gooner Slayer turned up in green.
We did. He did. Alas, we've got some great questions though today, guys.
Okay.
And we'll start with unpicking the game, but some of them we've got from our members as well. You know, Vaz has got a great question around the interview, which I think we're going to discuss, and the mention of the subs or lack of subs. It's a great topic for us to dive into later. We've got a question from Rick around leadership. I think we're going to talk about that today. Is leadership an issue at Tottenham, or is it an opportunity to resolve? Were players saving themselves for other competitions on international duty? Do we all need to take a breath? The questions go on. There's lots of good topics and always these silly dilemmas. Would you rather win the Europa League and finish 10th? You know, these kind of things we've got coming up. So we'll start with the obvious, guys. The match against Brighton from your perspective. Stu, what do you make of it? Was it a disaster? Was it a game of two halves? Where's your head?
It was indeed a game of two halves. As you were saying, at halftime, we were looking at the table, seeing how close we were to the top four. Like, yep, this is it, onwards and upwards, and then it all came down to a crushing halt. Again, you never know what would have happened if Destiny hadn't messed up that clearance. If that had gone away, maybe things had calmed down. If the clean sheet for 10 minutes after weathered the storm, who knows how it would have gone. But that second half was abysmal. It was one of the worst performances that I've seen in a long time. There was just no redeeming features at all. I mean, at least at Leicester, when we went a goal down and lost it, they equalised, and we lost it, at least, we got it back again and we're challenging and Richie had the chance to score the winner. This one, we lost it, and once they scored one, it was only a chance of when they scored a second, and then it was a matter of when they were going to score the winner. It never looked like we were going to get anything out of it. So, yeah, disappointing.
Si, you were saying this during the game, mate. We all said we're not going to, and Stu were there too, we're not going to score an equaliser. We're not going to come back from this. Like, we're not going to score another goal. So a lot of the criticism has been put on the defence switching off, but did you feel it was more of a team drop-off?
Totally, mate. Totally. It was the whole team. You saw it right from, they scored, 3 minutes into the second half, right? So they came out, they bought, what's his name, Estupinian on at half-time. He made a difference down their left, down our right. He was more aggressive with the ball, and that was obviously going to be a danger for us. So they score after 3 minutes. But in that first 3 minutes, we didn't attack the ball. In the first minute of the first half, we had that chance where Werner crossed for Johnson, a better cross, and that's 1-0. It's a tap-in for Johnson. But that came from us going for the press from the first second of the game. Second half, we just didn't press. That first couple of minutes, we were nowhere near the ball. We looked a yard short. I'm not having fitness either. People saying, we played on Thursday. We were pressing all the way up until the end of the first half. And there's no reason why that team shouldn't come out and press as hard for the second half. And if it is tiredness, then Ange should be making changes at half time. And I know we're going to talk about subs. And we will, and his comments about the subs were rather strange, and maybe we explore them a little bit later. But it was a team thing. The team weren't at it, and we had 18 to 20 minutes of absolute disaster. And what was interesting, though, because we didn't have the pressing and we weren't playing, we weren't able to play a high line because Brighton just pushed us back. Those goals weren't typical goals that you associate with an Ange system. There were a lot of individual mistakes. I mean, you can look at Destiny, and that was one of his worst games he's had for us, or one of the worst halves he's had for us. Should I put that into context? Because you can't analyse this game and be all doom and gloom about the second half without eulogising about the performance in the first half, because it's the difference between the two performances that makes it so telling. So Destiny had a nightmare with some crisis of confidence, and I have no idea what Bentancur was doing in that attempt of a challenge for the. I think the boss summed it up when he just said it was unacceptable, and the application in the second half was just unacceptable. As much as the first half was amazing, we watched some amazing football in that first half. And just to tail that off, if Johnson puts the third one in just before half time, it's game over. There's no way they're coming back from that.
Indeed, Si started touching it there, but you're a man who likes your tactics. What some of that again? It always seems to create the conversation of, oh gosh, you have to talk about no plan B again, all these kind of, vitriol that Ange gets that we've, numerously discussed as harsh criticism that's not completely true. But was that down to tactics or personnel in your opinion? And what was the root cause?
I mean, I think that it was just a bunch of individual mistakes, honestly. Obviously, the first goal, you can't out-tactic your left back just completely whiffing on a clearance, and it happens to everybody. It's always going to happen. I'm not blaming Destiny for that, but I do think that once that happened, I think Destiny got in his own head a bit. I don't know. I'm not a sports psychologist, but it just didn't look like the back line was in sync at all in the first 15-20 minutes, and we had a lot of like defensive ideas, I guess. Like we tried to shore it up a bit. We didn't, like you mentioned earlier, we didn't concede the chances that you would assume like a Tottenham team would concede. They conceded a bunch of goals with a bunch of players behind the ball and just someone coming open in the box. And I guess honestly that might be a product of, because we're so used to front foot defending and then defending in transition, that we're not thinking about defending in a block as much, which seems to me is something that I would hope we would be working on, but it really looked like we just didn't know what to do. As soon as someone skipped past the first challenge, it was like, oh, well, he was supposed to have gotten that ball, now I don't know what to do. And you could see that in, I think, both the second and the third goal that they scored, so I don't know. I don't think it's a tactics thing. I think that we, obviously, as you saw in the first half, our tactics to start the game were fantastic. And if we had been able to keep up the level of intensity that we had, we would have been a little more clinical with our chances in the first half. We would have killed the game. But obviously, Brighton made some tweaks at halftime, and we just weren't able to, for them, I guess. But I don't think it's a tactics thing. I think it was just a bunch of individual errors, and you can't out-tactic that, I guess.
No. That's what made it so frustrating. It's when you watch it, you go, there was 5 opportunities to stop that goal from happening. And so many other players we rely on and go, wow, anyone in the world would want Destiny Udogie in their team. Anyone in the world would want Mickey van der Ven. Anyone in the world would want Cristian Romero. Like, all these players were like, we've been protecting and waxing lyrical of. I felt like they really let the manager down. And I almost felt bad. I felt bad for Ange. After that game. I think
for every goal, Jim, there were 2 players that. So you look at the first goal. It went through Mickey. I think it clipped Van der Ven actually, which might have thrown a doggy off on his clearance. Okay, but there were two players to clear that. Second goal, their centre forward or their attacker went through our 2 centre halves, and then the third goal, Romero and Van der Ven assumed that Bentancur was going to make the challenge, and it came across, and Welbeck had a free header. It was a difficult header in the end. He had to get up and work hard for it. But it was a free header. No one jumped with him. No one was there with him. And you had your 2 centre-halves stood there looking at him. It's just, like Ange said, it's unacceptable. It's just real schoolboy defending.
It was. Should we look at... Go on, sorry, Stu.
I think that if there's one thing, I mean, it's far too soon to be pinning all your hopes on a 17-year-old. But the one thing that we've highlighted about Van de Ven before he even joined us, and we've been going on about since Harry Kane left us, is we don't have anybody who can head a ball. And we've got 2 centre-backs, and neither of them are good in the air. And I think that's one thing that Vuskovic, I think, is going to bring a lot to us when he finally comes. Because we'll actually have someone who can dominate that air. And I just think, when are we going to seriously start talking about Romero? Because if anybody else, if a Werner or a Johnson had been putting in or making the mistakes and being liable for so many goals we've conceded that Romero had this year, they'd have been burned at the stake by now. And I just think, obviously he's not a bad player. I'm not saying that, I'm not going off the deep end here. But I just sit there and think, maybe it'd be good for him just to get dropped and give Dragusin a game, just to kind of get his focus again. Just to get, listen, Cristian, you're not untouchable. You're not just, you can walk into the side and do what you like. Everybody needs it. Son needs it. Madison needs it. We've said it before in the summer, but Madison needed someone to challenge. Everyone needs to feel that their place is under pressure. And I wonder if Romero does feel that.
I think it's important to not, I'm going to say goalkeeper Romero. And obviously, yes, he has made mistakes leading to goals. And I do think that those are things that he needs to fix up. But I do think that the way that we play, obviously not in this game, but in other games, he has been at fault for the goals because he's been the last man. And especially with the way that we have Van de Ven bombing.
The Vardy one was just the same as this. He just wasn't paying attention.
The Vardy one, someone else was marking him until the 6th.
No. He ran straight past Vardy. That was 100% on Romero.
What do you think,
nothing
listeners?
To do with being...
Is Romero a victim in this scenario of a situation, or is he to blame, or is it somewhere in the middle? Are you Team Deej or Team Stu? Want to hear it below. Okay, should we jump into some of the questions? Because we've got a lot. We got at least 15, I think, from Twitter and YouTube. I'll start with the members. So, Vaz, the Spurs guy. Hey, Vaz, nearing your silver badge, mate. Hang in there, 5 more days. Thoughts on Ange's comments implying that he wanted the players to work it out as opposed to sending subs on earlier? Anyone particularly want to take that one?
Yeah, don't get it, mate. Your job's there to change the team for the better. If they're floundering, if they're not doing well, you don't keep going with the same thing. Change it. It was crying out for something to someone to firm up that midfield. Even do it at 2-1. Disturb the game there. Disrupt the game at 2-1. Stop them. They scored the next goal within the next 5 minutes. Disrupt the game. Slow it down. Break it up. You could see from the first 3 or 4 minutes that the team wasn't at it. So no, I don't get that at all. And I thought what he said was a bit either cryptic or just a bit off the wall. I think I'm not quite sure. I don't want to get falsely rewarded for something. Well, if you make a tactical change and you bring people on and you win the game, you're not falsely rewarded. It's an absolute reward for your tactical nous in changing the game. It's just, I don't get the comment, if I'm honest. I love Ange. I'm absolutely Ange in. I'm not turning, but I didn't get that. Just didn't understand what he was trying to tell us.
I think it goes back. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago when he was also criticised for not making quick subs. And I mentioned at the time he was doing the old Jackson thing of making the players kind of work the way out of it. But I think it's okay to do it for 10, 15 minutes, but half an hour when we're conceding 1, then a second, and the game is completely out of control. I just think I didn't get it either. And as for the falsely deserved, I agree with you, Si. He wasn't complaining after we beat Coventry that we didn't deserve to win that game.
Yeah, and it's the piece there that you say, it's like, I want to let them work it out. Well, they weren't working it out. That's the point. They were so far from working it out. You needed to make a change earlier than you did, mate. And we're not there. We're not on the bench. We don't see that. We're not the decision makers. But that was crying out for a change before the 3rd goal.
Deej, do you have a different opinion, or are you on par with these guys?
No, I definitely think that the sub should have been made earlier, and then I think that the subs he made weren't great because neither of the subs improved our chances of scoring the goal that we needed at the time he made them. And I get that some of that's down to just having 0 attacking depth at this point with the injuries that we have, but I don't know, man. It's something we could have. I don't know. it just felt like something different could have been done. Obviously, if he had made the subs that he made after the first goal or at half, they're fantastic subs. They shore us up defensively. They make it so that we can see out the game. And maybe we do see out the game. Maybe we don't. Maybe the same thing happens. I don't know. But I think making the subs at the position that we did not instill confidence in me that we were going to even really try to chase the game. And then we kind of didn't. Like, I didn't think we were in danger of scoring at any point after they scored their third, or especially after we brought the subs on, because neither of the players that we brought on are particularly attacking threats for the most part. Like, they're good and they can be, but that's not their strong suit. So I think that, I don't know, I do disagree with the subs. I'm obviously not Ange out by any stretch of the imagination either. I just think that, I don't know, Tottenham is always going to be cursed with managers who make questionable decisions with subs, aren't they?
I just think, did you guys understand it when he finally did make a sub and he brings on Sarr and pushes out Kulusevski to the left wing? I just didn't understand that at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Both of the subs were like defensive. It was as if he was trying to avoid conceding a fourth instead of trying to score a third, which is very against how I kind of envision him thinking about the game. So I thought that was really interesting.
Interesting is a polite way of putting it. I'm not defending the decision because I don't agree with not making the sub, but I'm trying to understand the reason of his point. And it seemed like he was almost so angry that we'd put ourselves into this situation that he felt he was more interested in ensuring the players on that pitch suffered and felt the consequences of those 30 minutes than he was in trying to turn the performance around and win the game. It was almost like, you absolute rats, you let me down to such a level. I'm blowing a hole in my own bow here of my boat and you're coming down with me because I am not letting you swan off and get off that pitch with a smile on your faces about anything after you've done that.
I think he's...
You're trying to say something there.
Yeah, guys, I agree with you, Jim. I think maybe that's what he was trying to do, and I understand it a little bit if it's aimed at the more senior pros. But I think, for example, Destiny, he's still a young kid. Sometimes I think maybe we forget. He's, 21, just turned 22? He's clearly lost it. Clearly that mistake that led to a goal got in his head, never got over it. Bring on Spence. Teach Madison, Bentancur, whoever else you want a lesson. But save the kid. Get him off the pitch. Put an arm around him, bring on someone else, Spence, who's been playing well every time he's come on. And I just didn't understand why he didn't make that change. I don't know, maybe DG, you've got the tactical nous that's better than mine, but I just couldn't understand.
I tell you, I think that, ironically, I think Spence is probably, I think that the thing that Spence doesn't give you is the defensive stability. I think he's as good as Destiny in the system at attacking, if not maybe even slightly better. Granted, I can't say that without having him play against more senior teams, but I don't know. I agree. I think Spence should have been brought on earlier. And yeah, but I think, to be charitable, I think that the thought process may have been something along the lines of, we think about this game a lot in terms of momentum and whatnot, but momentum shifts a lot in a game in any given time. So perhaps Ange was thinking that, these players have made a mistake, so they'll work extra hard to try to fix the mistake and rectify it and gain the lead back or whatever. And you can have your opinions on whether or not that kind of management works, but I can see the thought process behind that, if that was the reasoning behind the lack of subs.
Can I maybe be a little bit more skeptical? I think it was a mistake that he made not bringing the subs on earlier, and he's retrofitted the thoughts to his actions. I just think he was too late in bringing the subs on. I don't think there was anything that he was thinking about teaching somebody lessons. I think he thought that team could click back to what they were doing in the first half and get the game back, and that was a mistake, and he should have subbed earlier. I just think he made a massive mistake with that, and what he's done in the interview afterwards is try and retrofit some of his thoughts to the actions that were on the pitch. I don't think there was a thought process to that at all for him. I just think he delayed it too long because he thought those players could turn it around.
Well, look, we're going to hyper analyze this and come to a conclusion based on our opinion, but we've got 12 more questions to get through.
Go.
I don't think we're ever going to get to the answer of this, but I agree. I think we're all unified under one thing. We should have made the subs. And what I think would all benefit from, I don't think he's going to reopen the whole topic again. I would love it if Ange said, he was asked again that question and he clarified more clearly what his thought process was during that. But hey, maybe it's best just left now, as he's got 90% of the decisions right with us, I feel like, and everyone's going to make some decisions that are wrong. As long as you get 51% of your decisions right in life, technically, you will be a billionaire if you play in the stock markets. Look, Ange gets most of them right. So let's see. Next question from Rick. I didn't see the game. I'm neither catastrophizing nor Pollyannish. Is that a word? Pollyannish?
Pollyannish? Don't know.
Oh, that's a tough one, Rick. So what were the chief causes of the second half implosion? And what changes does Ange need to make for the team to learn and avoid any repeat?
I feel like we've kind of almost answered this question already. I think that we kind of lost our heads after the first goal, and that was really the issue. We were playing fantastically until then. I was ready to watch a 3-4-0 win, honestly, based on the way we played in the first. I was not even worried about a sort of second half implosion that we were unfortunately doomed to see. But I think that we probably do need to make subs a little earlier, as we've kind of alluded to, regardless of game state, because we do seem to have these moments between like minutes 60 and 80 where if we're not already dominating a game, we kind of let the opponent back in a little bit. Like we're less aggressive, our press isn't as fierce, and that kind of fierce pressing is kind of what drives our a lot of our attacking output. So I think that more subs do, as much as people want to discount like the effect of a midweek game, I do think that probably played a little bit into it as well. I do think that our press also looked terrible in the second half, but kind of everything looked terrible. So it's really hard to draw conclusions from this game where everything seemed to just go wrong. I don't know. I'm not too worried about it long term, honestly. I think that this is just I think Brighton caught lightning in a bottle with the mistakes that we made. I don't think those are mistakes that get made every game.
Yeah.
And
I've got one for you guys. What do you think? Because the team that started, not many of them started in the midweek, so they can't blame it on fatigue or anything like that. Do you guys think it was complacency at halftime? They went in 2-0 and they were already thinking of the international break and their minds had moved on.
I don't think there was enough time after halftime to be complacent before it was 2-1, honestly.
Yeah. I'm not
sure. I would say that if we had conceded at like minute like 60, 65 and 70, then yeah, but I think that conceding at minute 47.
But that's my point, because we even said on the live feed, so it's not like we're retrospectively changing our ideas. We'd said from the start that they hadn't come out of the changing room, and I'm just wondering if they came out the second half already thinking it's done. Exactly, but I'm thinking they were.
Yeah. So I think you had the total reversal of what happened in the first half, and I can't remember who it was interviewed. One of the Brighton players was asked, "What did the boss say to you at half time?" And he said that basically the boss told us. It said what tactical decisions were made at half time. He said, well, none. He said the boss told us this game is not won or lost on tactics now. It's won or lost on desire. And he sent the players out and said, you have to get at them from the get-go, right from the start. They score after 3 minutes. Their tails are up. Destiny's having a bit of a wobble. The whole team is now thinking, shit, what's going on? Before you know it, the second goal's gone in, and then we're all over the place, and it's just smashed the confidence. And where was the leadership? There isn't that person who can put their foot on the ball and say, right, hold on, let's just slow this down. Let's take a minute. Let's get control of this game.
Well, we will get on to the leadership bit in a bit more detail. And I know you're the right man to talk about this when it comes to leadership. The hardest team talk to give. You always praise like a team that's gone 3-0 down. We've done it plenty of times. And you come back and get something out of a game, or 2-0 down. And we had done it loads. It's what makes us such a fun club, and everyone likes us as neutral, right? I find those team talks are the easiest. You're full of rage. If you're a leader in a situation and you've had something, your team is not doing well, even in the workplace, we probably all had it. You've all underperformed. You go in there full of rage, energy, and passion, and everyone else is motivated because they've all got reputations on the line. They know they're better than that. They see people laughing at them. All these things. To go in winning so comfortably, to collectively get a group of people's mindset into you're not as good as you think you are, give them a shake, and whilst not killing their confidence and also setting them out motivated, it's not easy. And I feel like Ange was left with a situation where he didn't have a dressing room of leaders that could take care of themselves in that situation. And he's tried to fix it with a team talk. It hasn't really hit home. And they've just gone out and fluffed it.
You can almost imagine, though, that at half-time, if you look at the way that we came out, you could almost, and listen, no one knows what was said in the dressing room except for the people who are in there, but you could almost imagine Ange saying to them, right, we need to keep it tight for the first 5 or 10 minutes, and then we go back to the intensive press, but let's make sure that we don't let anything happen. And then you make a silly mistake, all of a sudden, that tactic's in the bag, it's gone, and you're all over the place and you don't know what to do. That could have happened. But, I just don't get the team that went in at half-time that was playing so well and pressing so hard against the team that just then walked onto the pitch for the second half and just weren't at it from the whistle. We're being asked for explanations that I don't think there is one. You can't put your finger, as Deej said, there isn't one thing that happened that you can say, that's it.
Truly, to see if Tottenham have changed, what I want to see is, because all these, like you said, we said at the start, you said it, so we're discussing what we title this. It's 5.5 wins out of 6. It was just so Tottenham that we've had 5.5 brilliant games of football, and we've found a way of taking the whole gloss off at the last moment with 40 minutes of just craziness. But our next 3 games, and we've had statistically the hardest start to the season out of the top 6. Liverpool have had pretty much the reverse. They haven't played anyone in the top half. They've literally had the best start to the season you could possibly have. And we've kind of had all of our bogey teams and then good teams. So it's been a bit rubbish, but I think what we were hoping was, come on, this is the Tottenham that's turned the corner against those bogey teams. We don't lose to Leicester anymore. We don't cock up those games that we should win on paper just because they're from the same city as us. But we've got 3 very, what you'd say, winnable games next. It's West Ham at home, then AZ Alkmaar, and then who's the third? Alkmaar?
Palace away.
Alkmaar.
And then who's the third one against?
Palace away.
Palace away, who are on a bit of a slide. So suddenly if you win then, you're going, I can't believe we were in a crisis mode like this 3 games ago. We've won 8 out of 9. It would seem far behind us, wouldn't it? Or am I way over?
I mean, the good news is that we don't lose to Leicester anymore. We draw with them. So step in the right direction. But I think if obviously winning is the cure to everything, and that's why this loss is also such a bad time, because it's the international break, and obviously I'm sure we'll have questions about it, and we've already alluded to it. Yeah. Spurs fans especially, I feel like, have a rather negative relationship with the international break in terms of perceiving players as caring more about the national team than the club that they play for. I'm not going to get into that unless I absolutely have to. But I mean, obviously, if we go into the next 3 games and we win all 3, then we're chilling. But I think that there's also potential that all 3 of those games are bogey games. I mean, you've got West Ham. Exactly. That's if we go and if we beat the shit out of West Ham, then that's proof of kind of turning a corner, because it's a West Ham always play up to us. Alkmaar, I mean, we have their striker is Troy Parrott. There's potential for the funniest thing to happen there.
It's in the script.
We were supposed to sign Eze in the summer. So that's the thing, is with these next 3 games, it could be really good, but there are also 3 very strong storylines, and Tottenham does nothing if not provide storylines to beat us with. So,
but the story here is not the defeat, right? That's not the story. The story is the manner of the defeat, the manner of that second half capitulation. That's the story.
Yeah,
And
but
that's where the catastrophe. But it might not be our story, but that's where the internet has blown up with the catastrophization of that second half, and the fact that the boss has come out and he didn't really know what to say in that press con in the after match interview. He was as lost as we are as to why it happened. Now he's got more influence on the outcome, and he should have had more influence on the outcome as we've suggested. But if we would have just lost to Brighton 3-1, it's a loss. It's a bad day at the office.
I don't agree with that.
Diggs, I'm disagreeing with you totally. That second half was atrocious, and
the second half was atrocious. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying that it would have been covered the same way, because that's what happens, especially after international. We lost 4-2 to Brighton last season, and it was covered the same way. The performance was bad, but to lose 3-1, you play bad. Like, as a top 6 side, if you lose 3-1 to anybody, it doesn't matter how you play. The scoreline being 3-1 means you played poorly.
I get that, but I don't think our own fans catastrophize it as badly as they have done this time.
Have you met any Tottenham fans?
Listen, I get what you're saying, but I still believe that it's the manner of that defeat that, well, certainly that's what done me up so badly at the weekend. Because I can take a defeat. I could take it if we played badly, and if we'd have played badly the whole game and lost, listen, I'm upset.
Isn't it partly like how I felt like? It was a bit like if I don't win the lottery, I don't care because I don't expect to win it. But if I think I've won it because I read my ticket wrong afterwards and then realise I've lost it, I'm completely decimated. And I kind of at that because we were so good in that first half, went in at half time thinking we've won this. My weekend's set. I'm buzzing. Everything's amazing. And then we lost it, and it felt so much worse. And if we'd just had a consistently poor performance and you felt, God, we're going to lose this one. It's a bit rubbish, but, 1 loss and 6, not the end of the world. We'll bounce back. It felt worse because we were at half-time. We were mocking everyone who doubted Ange. We were like, where are you? Come out the woodworks. Come on, then. Goading them all. And they ran out the bushes and
Here's
slapped
another
us around the
right
face.
Here's a left hook. You're down. You're out. 10.
But guys, we've got 2 questions.
I should say one thing about the result, I think, as well. We keep things in perspective. I mean, we lost to a Brighton side that's only lost 1 game all season. And yes, it was against Chelsea, and they got hammered last week. But, this isn't a bad side. And I think that everybody, as soon as we lost, we're like, we only beat a poor, Brentford side. We should be beating them. But again, Brentford only lost to us, City and Liverpool this season. United went away to Villa and got a point. I think we need to keep some kind of perspective of our results.
No doubt.
Exactly.
Brighton, the only team to get something from the Emirates this season.
Exactly. So,
Yeah. It's... Right, guys, we've got...
that's question 2 then.
So we've got 12 more to go, so we better rush through them because we're already 5 minutes over when we said we'd completed this pod vibe. So let's keep going. Jimico, do you think the players are saving themselves for international duty? We've covered this one. I think the answer was, actually, I missed your guys' answer to that. Yes, no, maybe. Maybe. Just James. Oh, God, lots of Jims and Jameses today. Welcome, guys. We should create a WhatsApp group. My alter accounts, Just James, Jimico. Yeah, we got loads. And can we just take a breath and accept that we're going to lose some games of football? Spurs fans seem to have this arrogance that we're destined to win every game we play. I like the way you're kind of like semi in the Spurs fan group at the moment, James, where you're like, you talk about us in third person, then you call us, and it's we in the next sentence. So you're kind of with us and with Ange. Social media, since the final whistle yesterday, has been awash with self-entitled armchair critics. The team capitulated. The first time in 1.5 seasons to do so. I'll take that as a win. Since Poch, it was every 3 weeks we'd self-implode, dust ourselves off, and go again.
Yeah,
should be a therapist, James.
I do actually want to go into that a little bit. I do think that this implosion, teams implode all the time. Like we see it every week. There's at least one team, and we just happen to be the team this week. Teams implode all the time. It happens. The problem with Tottenham is that because of how we've been, implosion feels like the norm almost. We have imploded so many times, especially under Mourinho and Conte. We imploded all the time. So I think that is also what is feeding into this feeling a bit worse, is that it's like hearkening back to a Tottenham that we're trying to build away from. I think it's something that we're, I guess, trying to, I don't want to say escape, but improve upon, I guess, for lack of better term. And it's really hard when, as soon as you do that, you do the implosion, everyone else that's, oh, the team had a bad game, oh, the team imploded, and you get your stick for like a day on social media. But for Tottenham, it's Tottenham are back. The real Tottenham is here. This is the Tottenham we expect. Like, and that makes it so much harder to escape that narrative, and also hurts a lot worse as a fan when it happens.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I feel like the media needed us to fail that weekend. Like, because Man United were the laughing stock, and they are the biggest moneymaker for all the media companies. They need them to do well. It's good when Man United do well. You need one of Man U or Liverpool or Chelsea doing well, basically, for Sky. It's good when those clubs are doing better for them. And Man United had a really bad patch. Liverpool have been a bit, they come back, so there was no one to kind of hit with a rock but Man United again. And it felt like Tottenham just put it on a plate to be the guys before the international break, they could say. And there was also the element of everyone being a bit nervous. Tottenham might actually be going places under Ange, and we still think we are, and we're still passionately behind Ange and confident he'll deliver it. But everyone else started to clock onto that. And they were like, please don't be true, please don't be true, please don't be true. Thank goodness there's something I can clutch onto to say Tottenham aren't there and they're not going to get there. And I feel that kind of plays against us. Maybe I'm being that hyper paranoid fan like we all are with football, that everyone's against us. Did we want to touch as well quickly on the City case, just to quickly explain that, by the way, because it does impact us?
Do we want to go through the questions first?
Yeah, I was just going to break it up because they're all pretty. Why does it hurt so bad to lose this game? Adam Pearce. We just
talked about that ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Road. Why do you believe fans are so quick to turn on players and manager after one poor performance? I think we literally just
they play too much FIFA career mode where they go invincible every season.
Yeah. And we acknowledge we do overreact. And if you're a fan that's like newer to Tottenham for various reasons, yeah, we are emotionally so deep in this because of 30 years of stuff outside of Ange's control, or more than that, that we do bedwet a little bit early at times and
there's also sections of our fan base, Jim, that actually jump on these moments because they just want to prove themselves right when they've been wrong for 6 games.
Very true.
100%.
Yeah. Some people still can't credit Brennan Johnson. Like, scored six
in six.
Give the guy like a...
You've even got some of our own podcasts and channels using the word Spursy and saying we're Spursy. I'll turn it in, fellas, will you? You get enough of that from external people. Don't you start?
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, they've found a way of money. They've found a purpose, and that is to be that type of person that is against certain things the club are doing, and they get a pleasure in saying "told you so, told you so, told you so," rather than where's the blind optimism and support for a football team that used to make it so special?
Right here.
Right here.
Right here.
But we're not blind. We're partially sighted, and we're with it all the way.
Legally blind optimism.
Legally blind. Yeah.
Legally blind.
WHOW. Progress is clear. What's the position change that gives us consistency, or is the playing style too intense to last 90 minutes? Is it too intense to last 90 minutes, guys?
I'm not a player, so I can't answer that question. Yeah. But I don't think so. I think that the playing style has been like semi-replicated elsewhere. I do think that maybe, I don't know, maybe we should, I don't know how to answer that question other than I don't know, but I don't think it's too intense.
Call me crazy. Perhaps if it is, then we use the fact we can make 5 subs.
You're crazy, Stu.
You're crazy.
But I think that's the answer to the question. That intensity, 11 players that start the game can't be 11 players that finish the game, and you've got a resource sat there next year that you can...
Yeah. Half the team you can change.
You could change half your outfield players. So, yeah.
I don't want to...
There you go.
There you go. Fixed it. Use your subs. Danny says, Europa League... We can't go into the depths of this because it's a question we could argue about for a while and explain the pros and cons of each. But you get one choice, guys. Europa League glory and a bottom half finish? Or what's the alternative, Danny? What's the alternative to that? What, finishing 6th and not winning the Europa League, or like 4th?
I think it would be 4th, yeah.
4th?
Fourth,
Well, you get
FA
Champions
Cup,
League
maybe?
anyway. But then you've got no reflection of...
I'm still
Okay,
taking the Europa League.
Basically, do you want to be like Man United for one season?
Where
you're terrible, but you win a pot?
Yes, I want a cup.
Yes, I want a trophy.
Because of our wider... If we'd won a few pots, over the last few years,
I would want to be 4th. Because we're Tottenham, I need it.
I want the trophy, yeah.
I have to have it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need it. The fire in the eyes. Does Tottenham employ a sports psychologist? If we don't, shouldn't we hire the most expensive one in the world? We have them. I've seen them in the documentary.
Yeah.
But maybe we could do with...
Is
raising the
Eileen
budget.
Drury still on the payroll?
Who?
Yeah, the Glenn Hoddle, hands-on. Get Eileen back. She'll sort them out.
JB, I said at half-time, our confidence looked sky high. Rather than holding meaningless possession, we were letting them have it and trusting our defence and pressing to turn them over and make bigger, better chances. I think I must miss the rest of your question there, JB, because I think that was just a partial statement.
Should have seen us at half-time on the live feed. We were feet up with cigars. We were...
we were absolutely buzzing at that point. Yeah. I'm surprised you haven't been clipped and shoved all over the internet already. It got a bit weird though, didn't it? Once Johnny sat in the cockpit of a fighter.
Got very surreal.
What the fuck did I miss?
Yeah, we were in a Lancashire bomber.
You missed a session there.
So one of our members in the comments said, "Can Johnny go in a Lancashire bomber?" So we said, "Why not?" And then it just got a bit weird.
Yeah.
But
then he got a background and he was flying it backwards, apparently.
But also at one point he disappeared and it was just the cockpit.
Yeah, he just hid away.
His little head just appeared back in shot again. Oh, God, I love that man.
JB did have an end to his question. I just missed it off. Why is life so cruel?
Because you support Tottenham. Life, man. If you want an easy sporting fan experience, go support one of the cheaters. You know, that's how you win. Like, it's the same in every sport. I am a recently bitter baseball fan because I'm American. I have to watch baseball at least a little bit. You know, it's part of the culture. Yeah. And the same teams make it far every year because they have triple, quadruple the budget of any other team. Stop me if this sounds familiar, but that's if you want an easy fan experience, go support the team that has the money because that's going to be the team that wins most of the time.
I can say, having grown up, you know, my hometown team was PSV and second richest club in the league, and we just didn't do anything except win when I was growing up. It kind of, you take it for granted. And I have to say, if we ever actually win anything, I'll probably enjoy it more than league titles that I've seen PSV win, or the Champions League I've seen Milan win.
The problem is, I used to be so confident that day would come, and now I'm getting older. And I'm like, okay, I'm running out of time now. Tottenham a little bit more every year. Can we speed this up? Speed this one up. But the good news is, Ange is older than all of us, and he's going to bring us the trophy. 15.
He's bringing us a trophy this year, boys.
He's bringing us a trophy. So
believe.
Yeah.
He might deliver it in a hospital bed, being wheeled on, raising a wrinkly fist, but he'll bring it to us.
Season,
So we're out of questions. Do we just want to quickly explain the City situation?
Yeah, go for it.
So, because it impacts us. So this big ruling, essentially, Man City took the Premier League to court because they said, it's not, really, it's on the internet somewhere. It's really not fair that we have to follow this rule you've made that you get to screen our sponsorship deals and make sure they are a fair market value. We want to sponsor ourselves for $1 trillion a day through a company associated to our owners. It's our money. We should be able to do what we want. And obviously, Premier League wants to protect the reputation of the league and the competitiveness of the league, and certain clubs want to protect themselves by stopping this happening. So they said, Man City said, we're going to take it to court and try get these rules removed. So it's because of two deals in particular. Man City tried to sponsor themselves with First Bank, I think, as a Saudi bank.
FAB.
Right? FAB.
No, it's from Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi Bank. And then there's an airline, Abu Dhabi Airline.
Etihad.
Etihad Airlines, for values way above what anyone else has been sponsored before. And City's argument was, hey, City's argument for them being higher value was, they are worth that, because we want to sponsor these Premier League champions, and this has nothing to do with our ownership at all. And to sponsor the best team in the best league in the world costs a lot more money. And what if we don't bid enough? We might lose out to someone else. So we'll just throw down 5 times the value or whatever. That's exaggerating, but it was loosely on those lines. So they took the Premier League to court to try to get its rules thrown out. And the Premier League, there was 27 different topics against them. 23 of them, Man City failed to get overturned, and they were deemed lawful. The one of them that did get deemed unlawful was that those previous deals had been rejected, were unfairly criticised and received too much scrutiny, and they may have had legs to stand. So they've got a case for getting some reparation money or whatever, something back. But it's not like loads. They're not going to get 500 million quid. Ultimately, the outcome was the rules will stay. If anything, they need to be tightened up. So Man City kind of lost on that front, but they spun it big time as a big win. And certain media outlets that are close to them spun it massively in that favour. Like, the big one was the Times, and they, 20 minutes after the case finished, they'd said, like, massive win for Man City. And people were like, wait a second. There's 28 pages of legal jargon there. You're saying in 20 minutes you've read through that and written an article and deciphered that. Like, you're clearly coming out with a pre-proposed agenda from someone else here that's told you to say that. So what does this mean for Spurs? Well, City wanted to come out with that with something. So they came swinging back at the other clubs that don't have oil states behind them and use their owners' money in the form of loans to help themselves. Big difference being, if you sponsor yourselves, it goes against your revenue. Your revenue goes up if you get £500 million sponsorship. Great, that means you've got more PSR limits, more FFP limits to spend. You can spend way more money. If it only gives you a loan, you can't necessarily spend more money. It doesn't count as extra revenue. So you're still bound by PSR and FFP, but you have a bit more equity to do stuff with and all that. So there are some benefits to it.
So it's a liability on the books, a director's loan, isn't it?
So, yeah, it is a liability. The interest is a liability. The interest on the loan. So what some clubs have do is started saying to their owners, Arsenal have done this.
Interest-free loans.
Interest-free loans. So people are saying, City said, that's not fair. That has to be counted as a liability, even without interest. We want you to make some kind of like fair market value equivalent of interest that they should be paying against that in a hypothetical world. So they won that, which is actually, we pay interest on our loans, to understand it. So it doesn't really make any difference for us. Man United pay interest on loans.
As well.
Yeah, so it makes no difference for us lot. But for Arsenal, and I believe it's Brighton, it's bad news. So
and
City
Chelsea as well, isn't it?
And Chelsea. Yeah, so they're pissed off. But Chelsea is still on City's camp. They sat behind them because they prefer to sponsor themselves for loads of money if they can. So the last thing is, City are now threatening, they've written a letter to, they're now saying that because that sponsorship deal in 2002 or whatever that was rejected, the Abu Dhabi one, was unfairly rejected, every single legislation that's been put on them since that date should therefore be void.
Oh my goodness.
And now they're trying to sue the shit out of the Premier League again for more stuff. And they've written a letter to all these 16 clubs who are against them, basically everyone except Newcastle and Chelsea.
And Everton.
Everton, talk about spiting, cutting your nose to spite your face. Bloody hell, over this FP stuff. But anyway, so they've written to them and said, unless you all change your tune, we're basically going to burn you all to the ground with legal fees, was how we kind of read it. It's like, we won't stop. So you better. So now what they didn't expect to do is all those clubs have turned around and said, we've got a bigger problem with these guys keep knocking around. So there's an emergency meeting next week with all 20 clubs where they're going to vote on the ATP rule changes to try and retain them and change the wording of the law. But also the journalists reckon there's going to be a wider meeting when Man City and Everton and Chelsea are asked to stand outside where they say, how do we reduce the power of these guys? They're going to bring the whole thing down if we're not careful. So it's going to get really spicy, and we are very openly actually holding hands of Arsenal in a rare occasion out on the offensive with all this. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Anyway, up the Spurs, boys.
Let's
Come on, you
finish on the
Spurs.
Go on,
Go on, you Spurs.
Come on.